and every machine in the machine shop went backwards. I've never seen a more distressed master mechanic, foreman, than the guy came running out of the shop. "Mr. Duncan, you got everything going backwards." "Thanks for telling me." I pulled the switch, interchanged one phase, closed the switch. He came running out and says, "Wonderful, it's all going the right way." Well, I was there for about 6 months, and I was living with a chap named Eddie Wolliver. Well, I could tell you stories about Eddie Wolliver for hours. Eddie and I became fast friends. Eddie was in love with a girl from George White's Scandals, a chorus girl, and such a beautiful girl. And Eddie had a convertible car. He says, "Kate, we're due some holidays. How'd you like to spend a week with me?" "I love it, Eddie. Where are we going?" "Well, first we're going to Toronto. I want to see." I called him the Baron because he told such tall tales. We all call him Baron Munchausen, who was renowned through history as a teller of tall tales. And Rita, his affianced, he called the Dove, so it was always the Baron and the Dove. And gosh, we used to, as a matter of fact, where we got the smoked meat the other day that we're eating here is from the Brown Derby. Well, there was a Brown Derby nightclub in the West End of Toronto, and one of the chorus line in the Brown Derby was Rita, and Eddie and I used to wait for her at the stage door, and when the show would be over, and we'd have a threesome date together. And one of Eddie's boyhood friends became a renowned comic by the name of Ned Sparks. And Ned Sparks happened to be visiting his old hometown, St. Thomas, and got in touch with Eddie. And so Eddie arranged that Ned Sparks and Eddie Wolliver and Gay Duncan would go out and have dinner together at Port Stanley, which is just a few miles away from Eddie's home. And gosh, he's funnier off the stage, where he was. He's long dead. But he was funnier off the screen than he was on the screen. He just one of nature's comics. We had a delightful dinner. Well, we came on to Montreal, and we paid a visit to the engineering office, John Stadler. John Stadler was perhaps the world's leading consulting engineer and designer of forest product manufacturing operations. And the man whose dream was to be fulfilled out of this is, oh boy, here goes the old Geesheimer's. He was one of the four greats that made great fortunes out of Royal Securities. He was the engineer who was responsible for the promotion of Beauharnois Power, which was then Montreal Light Heat and Power. Anyway, I called on him, and he says, why don't you go in with Mr. Stadler? So I went down to see Mr. Stadler. There was this other chap, whose name will come to me before these sessions end, I hope, who had been the one who sent me up to Red Rock. Working for John Stadler was going to be a little different matter. John Stadler was a Bavarian German, and a giant of a man in every respect. He stood about 6'7". He had an enormous head with fierce mustache. He must have weighed just under 300 pounds. He was like a bull. And here's this young fellow sitting across the desk from him in some fear and trepidation. And Stadler listened to my story, said, well, you've got degrees, eh? He said, when I came home from the gymnasium, which is the German university, and showed my father my degree, he said, take that down to the pub and see if you can buy a beer with it. He goes, so much for a degree. He said, what do you want me to pay you? And I took a deep swallow and said, $250 a month, sir. And I thought, oh, this man's going to throw me right out. Because that was a horrendous salary to ask for in those days. And he says, good. He says, any man who thinks less of himself than that, I don't want on my payroll. And so he signed me on at $250 a month. Well, that meant I was living in Montreal. So the convenient place to live was in the Deek House. And your mother, one of the belles of the campus, used to be a popular gal in the house for Deek parties. So I met her at a Deek party. She came with one gentleman. She went home with me. I
straightened that out pretty quick.
Yeah. We sparks right away, just right away. We knew. The next date I had with her was New Year's Eve, because I headed up to Fort William for Christmas, and Mom was up with a gang of her fraternity friends. That's what they call sororities. Frater to me is brother, and soror is sister, but I don't know why the girls insisted on calling them fraternities. But they were having a ball up north, and I guess your mother arrived home pretty tired, because when I phoned to confirm that we had a date, and the date was to go to a hockey game that evening, young brother John answered the phone. I said, may I speak to Miss Frances, please? And this young voice, it was well before it had broken, he must have been about 11 years of age, I guess, said, oh, she's in bed. She's always in bed. I thought, oh my goodness, what am I letting myself in for here? But anyway, when Mom heard who it was on the phone, she deigned to wake up and come to the phone, and we kept our date. And that's how we got to know each other. And it was Lake Sulphite Pulp and John Stadler that brought me back to work here in Montreal.